glasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tried to turn around. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I need my glasses. I started going down the main road and turned back around.
I once pulled into my work parking lot and then realized I left my badge here. So I turned around and went to get it.
What do you think the chances they let you in without it?
You just knock on there, they'll let you in, and then you have to go to the desk, prove that you are who you are, and then they will give you a temporary badge for the day that you have to turn in when you leave.
So they're not super crazy about it.
No, but I don't know what the process is for oopsing. So
Losing it completely?
Oh no, losing it completely is a different story. My boss has forgotten his before one of my coworkers did. If I forget mine, whatever, I can go. It takes me 8 minutes to get back, and 8 minutes to get back, or 8 minutes home, 8 minutes back here, and it'd probably take me a good 10 minutes to go through all the process there. So I'm like, well, I can deal with people, or I can just go damn badge.
My old job, I had to have a badge to clock in every day, and if I forgot it, it was a bit of a process. Which generally involved some small level of humiliation on the parts of my bosses. Like, you forgot it, huh? Hey everyone, he forgot his badge. Had to be let in by the security guard. They were never happy to have to get up out of their chair because they were old men. So angry. Like, war.
Hello, Freddie. When she doesn't get the last piece of cake.
Can you imagine a war in which the changelings were actually organized? It'd be an impossible war to win.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that police
She
civilization
looks extra angry
not
now.
changeling rules a
Before she looked too happy, now she's like,
always.
Only person whose name I cannot read because I cannot see.
She's so funny. I love it. Oh, yeah, that's it.
I know that's blurred block because it's orange. Freddy, I think.
Yeah, it's Freddie.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives. We must meet the threat with our valor.
I don't like to eat with my glasses on.
We must meet the threat with
I can kind of read what's on the screen.
blood.
Especially if you keep it in caps. Keep it in
We
caps,
must
guys.
meet the valor, our blood, valor, our.
I don't like how her eyes look right here. She's supposed to look to the side, but I feel like this is a little too much.
Our blood.
You know, actually, I know why it is. So right now, her eyes are set to only that far in front.
Good job.
I bet you, if they're looking, or if she's looking far away, she's not going to have her eyes so close to each other. There we go.
You go. Now she can see predators coming from both directions. She's ready for war.
Very lives.
Well, just like that, where it's just enough to make you confused.
She doesn't look good. She looks unhealthy.
Oh. So I'm probably just going to. Why is the default up a little bit, actually? I must have already thought that.
Sure that we must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very
Yeah, that feels a lot better. This actually looks like the correct eye placement now. No, this is just like, huh?
He had a stroke again.
Should we do the other way? I don't know. There. Oh, one. I think it might have undid, but it did. Yes, it did.
Indeed, with
Yeah, there we go.
blood. We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood. Indeed, blood. Threat with our valor. The threat with our valor.
I feel like I need to play with their head's height a little bit.
Threat with our valor. Our blood. Indeed, with our very lives. Twitch.
Okay, I don't have the rest keyframes, so I gotta actually do keyframing. I don't like well, I kind of like keyframing.
To ensure that
Which is it?
It just depends. With this one, the tough part was I was trying to duplicate something, and I didn't grab that reference, so I might just have to go with whatever.
our very lives. To ensure lives.
Let's see, eyes. I need more than that. What is?
To ensure that
Oh.
civil ensure that
What's this pizza again?
Pub house or something? I don't know.
I really like it. It's got a lot of cheese.
That's selling point for Michael.
That is important. It's like the most important part about pizza.
Okay.
You know, I think you'd like cheese more since you live closer to Wisconsin. But,
to ensure that
I'd be afraid of pizza in Wisconsin. You get, like, cheddar on a pizza, and that would just be weird. All our pizzas are just open-faced ham sandwiches.
Okay, so I need her to like actually because she's supposed to be looking at an audience, so I have to keep her like looking around.
To ensure that pony civilization.
I think she needs to be a little bit that direction. We're actually gonna churn her that direction. Nope.
How well does that armor move?
Actually pretty good.
Yeah?
I already did my
Like, could you do a walk cycle with it, or would it break?
it's gonna break in the normal places. But mainly that's because Celestia's model is always kind of rough with that. But overall, it's actually pretty good. It bends where it needs to bend. I don't like. I think there's one of these here. Yeah, I don't like how this doesn't move. even though it's considered metal, sometimes having it move just a little bit is helpful, because otherwise when these legs start going forward and backwards, you're going to start having issues. So since it's not tied to the leg, it's a little rough, but it is tied to the thigh. Other than that, I really like the normal maps are done, and the lighting for it, really, really good. And the design for it actually works pretty good. So I just love how, like, the underlying fabric is camo, but then you have bright gold. Like, why do you even bother with the camo?
You gotta sport that Celestia gold, though. She's like, no one will see me. No one can see you, man, because you're blinding everyone with the reflection of your gold plates.
Well, the,
She's like, yes, it's working.
yeah. So, it's supposed to go after her collar, so her collar before had a gold come around and then the big diamond. So it's just trying to replicate that.
It's good. It looks good on her. I like that armor.
I just like the hair, because it's a lot less work.
Yeah, it's all tied back.
I don't care how it looks. I just like that I don't have to deal with it.
Pony, you pony, get a little cute pony.
To ensure that pony civilization.
Let's play the
Okay.
game.
She needs to go down quite a bit more.
Ensure that pony civilization. To ensure that pony civilization.
So I was mildly thankful for your Rathlow Says channel today.
My what?
Your Rathlow Says channel.
Why?
Because my boss and me got to talking, you see. And he's like, I'm going to go home. It's Friday night. I just go home every Friday night and have a beer and a meal. And it's always nice. And I'm just like, I tend to go home and watch my roommate animate videos. And I thought it would end there. But he apparently was interested. And he's like, oh, really? Oh, where did you put him? Oh my god, you put him on YouTube. And he's like, oh, well, can I see him? My kids like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know, it's pretty niche. And he's like, well, is it X-rated or something? I'm like, no, nothing like that. He's like, well, then let me see him. And I'm like, So I'm like, all right, Rathlow Says. That's kind of, they're not my favorite, but he won't think poorly of me.
So you're thankful for the account because it was a scapegoat.
Yes.
Get out.
I didn't have to show him pony stuff. I like pony stuff. Lots. Because they're cute.
Just show them the pony stuff.
Oh, give it a few more years then, baby. Gotta work up to that. Gotta make sure you won't get fired after. I mean, you tell your coworkers about the pony stuff all the time, right?
Most of the ones I've known for a couple of years know about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you kept it, like, super secretive.
I don't keep it secret. I just, when they're like, can I see stuff? I'm like, no. And it's not because it's pony, it's because when I'm at work, I'm doing work stuff, and I don't want to be the guy that does animation stuff. I want to be the guy that does work stuff.
So if your boss is the one asking.
My boss knows I do animation too. He just doesn't know the specifics of it. I put it on my resume. Because I didn't put it on my resume as a skill. I put it on, hello Clumsy. I didn't put it on my resume as a skill saying I could do 3D animation. I put it on there as the lessons I've learned from doing it. So it was about the other lessons that came from it. And, but then they needed some help on some other things that they thought that actually would be useful experience for. Never heard anything from that. And thankfully it wasn't, because they wanted to actually try to do some advertising filming stuff. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. So.
Yeah.
No, I love the work that I do now, so
Civilization.
I am looking forward to the opportunities my work will provide when things expand.
Civilization.
The idea of the six-figure job is nice.
Civilization.
yeah, like good 8-9 years from now.
Yeah, I know. Still. It's gonna take a while for the company to expand here. But being on the ground floor of it's nice.
Civilization.
Of course, as soon as he finds out, I'll watch My Little Pony. I'll probably just get fired. So.
No.
Civilization.
Would you want to work for somebody that did that anyway?
Not really. Though.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you at that point.
Not. Civilization. Not.
I don't think my boss. He's pretty cool. Just makes working there all the nicer. See, look, like, he's like, I am the leader horse. I am tallest horse. That's why I lead. Got invaders and rules. I am the tallest.
I love doing
Fear me.
this where it's
Yay. He's all happy.
no, if I have to do this.
You got duck face.
I was like, woo! Woo!
CC Snake.
Woo! Michael.
What?
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
We must meet the threat with our valor.
Oh, that's kinda cute.
Our blood, indeed with our
Make
very
fucker face.
lives, to ensure that pony civilization, not changeling,
I destroyed the up or the up and the down flex, but it maintained all the jaw motion.
Yes. She's like, it's like some horrible plastic surgery. Just like
Equestria now,
she can't move her hips.
not changeling, rules Equestria now and always.
Takes a lot to keep. You gotta get a facelift every
It's a condition.
decade or
No, a condition implies singular.
Yes.
there is a few condition.
She has to get a facelift every 50 years or so. Being as old as she is, it needs a lot of plastic surgery. Takes its toll.
I just loved like you just take one thing here and like yeah, like this.
Oh
We
jeez.
must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that pony civilization, not changeling, rules Equestria now and always.
It works.
It does not.
I like that button. What was the other one?
Look at my
Meet
big
the
lips.
threat with our valor, our
Yes, now
blood,
that is plastic surgery going wrong.
indeed with
Too-
our
too
very
much-
lives, to ensure
too much
that
silicone
pony
in her lips.
civilization.
She looks like a cat.
Affleck.
No.
She looks more like a horse. Me. Me.
We must meet the threat with our
No.
valor,
He just broke.
our blood, indeed
Oh,
with our
poor
very
Celestia.
lives, to to ensure
Having a
that
stroke
pony
again.
civilization, not changeling.
And a horrible underbite at the same time.
Is there one? What's a? I think I can. Yeah, I can grab one of these. Yeah, let's do this.
Meet the threat with our valor, our blood,
Her high on
indeed with our
drugs.
very lives, to ensure that pony civilization, not changeling,
No, where's my flexor?
rules Equestria now and always.
So you got all lip syncing done for this scene?
Yeah, this is all done.
We must
All this is. I did this like November. So yeah, the lip sync has been done for a very long time. I just have to get the rest of it.
meet the threat with
Bit of a slow going, huh?
Equestria to ensure
Lots of
that
distractions.
pony civilization, not changeling.
But mainly it's it's this I know what I need to do. I'm just intimidated by it.
I did buy my ticket to Windy City today. I got a sponsorship.
I'm waiting for Charlie, and then I was gonna do that too.
Well, the sponsorships, they stopped selling them March 1st. Saw that on the site today when I was buying mine. Meaning that
They stopped selling them, and then Charlie says, "Here's your code for your ticket." And I say, "But I want a sponsor," and he's gonna go, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll just sled you in." Because
special horse privilege.
the whole thing is that I'm supposed to, when you do a community guest, you get a code for your badge. Even if you bought a badge, you still have to go and do this special code one. If you want a free, or if you want a sponsorship, they give you a secondary code that gives you your normal badge cost off of a sponsorship. But I have to wait for that code. Otherwise, I buy it full price and then they have to reimburse. And it's just easier just to do it all in one go. I think for Ciderfest, I didn't even bother with it. I just said, yeah, I did the higher sponsorship anyway, so the difference wasn't even that much. I'm just like, whatever, just keep it.
I'm getting a sponsorship from Park. This is the only convention I'm even going to be able to go to this year. Which will never cease to not bum me out, but it is what it is.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives.
She's going to be a troop
pony
captain.
civilization, not changeling.
Troop boat captain. No, now she's just going to like...
Wait, can I grab the size flex and puppeteer it? She's just like, please no.
She's like, why you do this? I just want to be cute horse. No.
Blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that pony civilization, not changeling, rules Equestria
Is-
now and
Remember when I
always.
told you that you remember when I told you that the one thing that horrifies me more than anything else is body horror?
You know what the best part is?
Thanks for
That
this.
saved it.
No. Poor Celeste. I want to give her a hug and protect her from you.
To ensure that pony civilization, not changeling, rules Equestria now.
That underbite.
We must meet the threat with our valor.
Hold on, I need to help her.
Someone does.
There we
I don't know
go.
if it's
Our
you.
blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that pony
Feels like the one
civilization,
good.
You gotta go from low angle.
meet the threat with our valor, our blood.
Like your parents were related, weren't they? It's like, yeah, they're my mom and dad. Yeah, I'm sure. That's all it is. That's just an Avalor doll.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very
That a
lives.
doll.
Got a little jaw.
That's what happens when people who have bad teeth growing up. The lower jaw doesn't gain the strength.
Rules
Every time we do this, I have to then go back and be like, okay,
valor, our blood.
okay, it looks fine. Because you missed one flex and the whole thing break. Actually, you know what I need to do? I modified that a little bit, or before. there's a reason that I have a model called Celestial Lip Sync.
Because you mess with it and you need to make sure you
No, it's actually because say that I select. I go to select this part because I have my keyframes here. So I have my keyframe here and here, and then I'm like, oh, well, actually, I want to have all of this move from here to here. I accidentally select everything, and then I say out. I just destroyed the lip sync for that area. So it's more of when I'm doing keyframing or even just animating, if I accidentally select the whole model, I can destroy lip sync. And if I forget that I did, I have to either undo all my animation or lose the lip sync.
I feel like this has happened before and you've learned this lesson through...
Yes, that is what a lot of that crap is. Because yes, I have destroyed my lip sync before.
And had to redo it?
Oh no, I had to redo the animation because I just kept hitting undo until I got back there. Because I'd rather redo the animation than the lip sync.
You do
So,
lip sync.
No, there's been a lot of things that I've learned the lesson of. If I don't do this, chances are low, but I could F it up. But when you have 8,000 hours in a software, even if you only have a 1% chance of messing up, that means you have 80 hours of messing up. So, yeah.
Lessons learned the hard way are the ones you don't forget.
When I was talking with Prince the other day, there was the one thing I told I said where the best projects start with I don't think this will work. So you have to take risks because you learn and you excel and you become better. But every now and then you are going to fuck up, and you better be ready for it.
That is life. Fucking up was a skill. I'd be master at it.
Pony civilization.
What the hell?
You know they have those phrases. If I had a dime for every.
Yeah.
You know what? If I had a dime for every time I had a dime, I would be unlimited rich.
It's true. Good job. I don't know that one's gonna stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because every time I get a dime, I get another dime.
Yeah.
I'm rich. But then that reminds me of the fridge from 10th Kingdom.
Mm.
Where he's like, every time he opens the fridge, the amount of bigger doubles. And so he keeps just opening it and closing it. Well, then that kind of problem, it was overflowing.
I was like, no.
I'd be drowning in coin.
I still want to watch part 2 of that.
Yeah. I love that show.
You just need like... It's 10 hours long for the whole thing. Just about.
It's built for commercials though, so I don't think it's 2 hours of video.
Yeah, it's 2 hours with commercials.
So I think it's like an hour and a half
10
each.
hours.
So it's about 8 hours. Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. It's long, but it's good.
But it still has my best scene in a movie ever, the frog scene, where he throws him through the door.
I didn't realize the last time we watched it that it was the Troll King was freaking Al Bundy.
Yeah, he's not married, but with children.
He does have children.
But he's playing the straight person there too.
Yeah, he's playing the straight man. He does a good job. Yeah, he's good for the role. It's a good movie. They cast it well. I think is a big part of it.
No, the whole thing was good. It was just bad timing.
What do you think of bad timing?
When it released, there was other big things that came out at the time, and it overshadowed.
It was kind of a big time for miniseries. I do remember that. There were a lot of different miniseries going on.
But no, I thought it was
It was early 2000s now, or was it late 90s? I can't remember.
Okay, I think that was part of it. I remember hearing something about the Super Bowl, and if so, this could have been, was it released on this date? Oh, through March. So okay, maybe it wasn't involved with that. $44 million budget.
That's a movie budget, yeah.
Well, for 2000, that's not a movie budget. That's an insane budget.
Yeah. It had some big actors in it. I think the one casting that I was kind of meh about was maybe what's her name playing Snow White?
Oh, the larger lady?
I
I think I know who you're talking about.
can't remember her name right now. She's a good actor or actress. She just it wasn't the role for her, and I feel like
Yeah.
they kind of just threw her in there because she was a big actress, not because she was really fit for the role. But I can't remember her name now.
I know, I've seen her face.
Yeah, I haven't seen her on television in a long time.
I meant to look up to see if that was Mark Hamill in the Dragon Quest movie.
Yeah,
Did you ever look that up?
I did. I don't think it was, but it sounded like him.
It sounded very much like him.
That voice actor has a future in playing the Joker. So do a good job at it. Not that I want Mark Hamill to go anywhere anytime soon.
We're just talking about random movies.
Meh.
No, if you haven't seen The 10th Kingdom yet, I do recommend it. It's older, and the graphics and the visuals are going to be older, but for its time, it was actually really good. And it's like an adult fairy tale based off of a lot of Disney's original ones. Or not, I guess Disney's, but the Grimm's ones. But it is five movies at an hour and a half each without commercials. So it is long. But it is very, very good.
Yeah, it's got Warwick Davis. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. But it's just it has some of the funniest comedy that I've seen, because the first episode, you have to give it past the first, I guess, episode, the first movie, because when you have an 8-hour movie, if you space out how long it takes to introduce all the characters, the average amount of time would be that first 2 hours. So the first movie is just getting everything situated. After that, it gets really, really good. But which I think didn't help it either. It just was.
It's an investment more than most things.
But it's also, when you start watching something, like especially with YouTube, and you can watch this with what do they call it, the retention period on videos. Mm-hmm. You can watch when people stop watching something, and you have to be able to grab people's attention within enough time to make them feel invested for the rest of the time. And with movies, at least you got people sitting there and locked in and invested because they put the time in to watch something. But YouTube just goes and throws something on your screen, and if you're not invested in the first 4 to 5 seconds, you're probably just going to click next video. So YouTube is even worse about it. But when you have a 2-hour intro, I mean, it was still entertainment throughout, but it took that long to really get things rolling. So.
10th Kingdom's. I have a lot of fond memories of that.
I didn't even watch it my first time until 2010. It was 10 years afterwards.
I remember watching it as it was coming out and being super excited for each release, for each new episode.
There was nothing else in Kentucky.
Yeah. It's true. The 2000, I would have been 14, 15. Yeah, I think I just turned 15 when that came out. I remember recording it on my VHS tapes. Does anybody remember VHS?
I watched it through an ISO rip.
Wow, you did watch it way later.
Yeah, it was still back when I was torrenting.
Mm-hmm. I just remember sitting down, putting in the VHS tapes. It would come up on ABC or whatever. And I would try to cut all the commercials out by stopping it and starting it, which was always
My dad always did that too.
Yeah. But that was 10 hours because they had a marathon, a straight 10-hour marathon of the 10th Kingdom, and I sat through all of it to record it. All 10 hours in front of my TV. Stop, start, stop, start. Ugh. The sacrifices we made before the internet to essentially steal a miniseries. Kids these days get torrents and streaming.
Not changeling.
I remember doing that for music. Did you ever do that? Sit at a radio and try to wait for a song to come on so you could press record on the cassette?
Probably, but I don't remember much from then. Yeah, I know we used to do like the you dub tapes by just taking two speakers and putting them next to each other from two different radios. Amazing quality. Want to hear my mixtape?
Yes. Okay, wait. She's dancing.
That was wow. That was actually weird. Okay, I tried to grab the full up and down, but there's this tiny little spot where I can select this one, and it went. Ooh,
Oh no.
and it went yeah, that was a complete accident. Ooh.
Yes. Hello. Hearted.
You know what's funny? So when I'm working on stuff, I completely forget that this is the larger screen. This is usually I make my work camera, and this is what I want to do the final, and it's backwards from what I normally do. So I'm over here like doing something, and then I realize this camera might not even show anything at all. Like I'm working in this teeny little one. I got to get out of that habit. This is what I should be doing. I should be technically like moving it here or not doing it like I was doing, or moving it here and watching that. I don't know. I'm being stupid.
I'm getting another booze. You want anything? I can attempt to mix you whiskey and coke.
You just want to grab me a mead? I forgot I had that in there. No, I'm not gonna have you make what I make.
You'd be like,
I
you
know-
made it wrong. And you should
I know what I
throw
like.
it. Do
I
it
use,
again.
I use the same glass and the same amount of ice every time, so I know exactly how much to put in. You don't have to measure if it's the same.
Not change.
This I'm actually doing or I'm assisting Prince Whatever with a video. So this is based on one of the shots from Starship Troopers. So I'm only doing these 3 bits right now. She's so sneak. We're having the big council chamber, having her do a little talk thing.
Must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives.
So this is like her animation here is like 80% done. Sometimes I want to get the full thing done so that I can see kind of what I'm working with, and so I want to get there it is. So I want to get through all of it so that I can figure out the timing for, because I have this problem, and I think most people do, where you go, yeah, it's a collaboration of sorts. I have a problem where I do I call it like a seesaw animation type, where if you look at this, you can this and these I wouldn't consider seesaw, but these are. So by these not being seesaw, I mean I have variations in timing,
Indeed with our very lives.
but these ones are getting seesawish,
Not changeling.
where I am changing on very similar time frames. So in this case, it's changing about every 3/4 of a second. And so this was a little less, this was a little more, but still it feels like then you're just doing everything to a beat, and it's just a seesaw going back and forth of the animation. So I probably will retime things when I'm done, but I want to. So some of it I'm going to change. At least not the major animations, but I do want to change the timing. Maybe maintain a position for a little longer and extend the dull downtime or motion or something.
Realization. Not
Well, this one I guess isn't that bad because it's technically just a small little nod. Not really. A lot of it just comes down to experience and time. I don't really think about what I do anymore. My brain just kind of does it. The longer you spend doing anything, any task, you just start running on autopilot, which is where you want to be.
not changeling.
So like here, I knew here I wanted to pull her back. That was kind of the intent. But then for this next one, I want to have her forward again. Well, if I go back, if I try to move from here, I'm moving everything again. Well, but if I instead grab this position, I have her forward already. So I'm going to grab this instead. Just knowing little things like that to save yourself time. So this, she churns. So I'm just gonna use this one still, but I'm just gonna turn her the other way. But I don't want to have her turn all the way because I want to have her look to the left, but as a side look. So not like turn to stare at, but to maintain her original position, kind of. So I'm going to do. So if I go in and out, it'll or if I use in, it will copy the animation previous. So I'm just going to do a partial in. So I'm going to yank her back a little bit. Then turn her a little bit. I'm probably going to keep her head a little bit to that side and keep her head down like this. Probably gonna need to turn her a little more. So it's what I need to do some of these little subtle things. I just know because I've done it for a while. That hair is gonna make that tough though. I have to put those eyes further to the side. Probably makes sense anyway. So I don't think animating is difficult at all. Just from it's the hardest part about it to me is motivation and time. Because it's just, things take a while.
I would imagine.
Don't like how that comes in front of her eye, but I bet you that this has a bone and I can change it.
That is the reason I probably could never get into
Time?
it. The tedium. The amount of time.
Well, I don't mind
the same
tedium.
Thing over. That is what would get me.
Because actually, do I not have control for front main?
I mean, I think it would be easier if
that's it. That's kidding me.
The little bone.
The rest of it does not have a bone?
It looks like it's... Maybe not. Maybe it's like...
No, it doesn't.
It's not supposed to move.
No.
It's by design.
No!
It doesn't even look like he forgot it. He just intended it to be that way.
No. It's gonna be that. That needs a bone.
You'd ask the modeler if you could add it.
Because say that you have this hair moving and the tail moving and all the other hair moving, but then this one hair has zero motion. It just seems off.
Well, somebody made this model for this, right? Or did they just make the armor? I know they made the hair. But maybe you could ask them to add the bone.
Clumsy, I don't tend to help one-on-one, outside of stream. That's actually the point of the stream, was for creating a central location to help. But if you do have specific questions, even specific to a project you're working on in here, I have no problem answering them, or at least doing what I can to answer it. But when I'm not on stream, I tend not to do too much, because it was getting overwhelming when I was... Michael, you're not in frame there. There you go. It was getting overwhelming when I started doing that originally, and so I'd have... I started the streaming, and that was 5 years ago.
Now they can watch me drink. There are a lot of videos he's put up, tutorials and such, on the website, streaming site.
No, never feel like the point that or that you're interrupting the stream to ask questions, because number one purpose of the stream is to provide assistance. The secondary is if I don't have anything to answer, then I will just work on random stuff. So it's very, very easy to maintain motivation when people are watching you do stuff. So
Civilization. Not
Yeah, it's good. You
changeling.
probably would have chased me away with a bat by now, otherwise.
Hmm?
You probably would have chased me away with a bat by now, otherwise. Be like, no! It ends.
Changeling. Changeling.
There we go. That's kind of looking. Just need to move the chest a little bit.
Changeling.
Let's keep it for now.
Not changeling. Changeling.
I'll have to play with the eyes to make it. She's gonna probably squint more there. I do not like the hair where it's positioned, but I'll figure it out later.
Rules. Equestrian now. Equestrian now. And rules equestrian now. Rules equestrian. Equestrian now. Rules equestrian.
So I know, like, one of my favorite things to do with doing keyframing is stealing animation and positioning from other things. So I know that she's here, and I just want to have her move, look a little bit more forward. But I don't want to just turn her head, because then her whole body is stuck. I want to have the whole body move. So I'm here just deselecting the facial stuff, because I don't want to have that selected. Selected everything. So I'm going to deselect face and jaw, so I don't see any animation here. So I'm going to have her go forward. So I'm going to find where I already have her forward. And we'll see, like, right here. And I'll go from here. And I'm just going to play head. Wait. Oh, first I want to steal the previous frame's animation.
How you got a face right now? She's like, you what?
But okay, now that I have that locked in, I'm just going to grab here, and I'm going to just play head, but not all the way. I'm going to just go like to there. So then they gave all the body motion, but I'm not actually just going back to a previous pose. But then since it's partially mixed with the other pose, it means that she's not moving completely. She's just doing a subtle motion. So now I'm going to have her kind of... push it down. And I'm trying to also... Like, I could animate from all angles if I so wish. But I don't want to. Because if I'm working on it from this angle and this angle and this angle, I'm not actually seeing what the camera sees. And in the end, that's actually what matters. So if I might be over animating or putting too much effort into something that then just doesn't actually work. So if you're doing video game animating, yeah, because you're going to see things from all angles. But for this, no. So I'm trying to animate everything from this angle so I know exactly what it is I'm working with.
Is there not a Mare Guard model?
Maybe why?
Because there's 2 Stallion Guards, and they're not cute.
There's
4 of them.
6.
None of them are cute. It's real
They're that far away.
It's a shame. That's what it is.
There's right now there is 7 males and there's 4 females.
I see 2 females. Those do not count. No.
No, I'm probably going to maintain the male model.
They are their traditional guard models, though.
No, because if I load a female, then I have 2 unique models loaded. if I maintain the mail, can utilize that memory for other things. Because when I get to this audience, it's going to be needed. Do I actually have the second guard shown? Oh yeah, or this third guard. I do.
Did our armor just disappear?
Oh, for this shot, I hadn't converted the armor over,
Oh, okay.
so it's just standard Celestia for this one. But then you can be like,
That arm. She's like, makeover.
Stinky.
Rules Equestria now.
I need her to look more sideways here. Hello, Skylight, and thank you very much. Rip Streak. Well, that is fine. I appreciate it for what for when you were.
Yay. I mean, I haven't watched his stream in a long time. He probably thinks I'm dead. On there.
Probably.
It's like, where'd that Teo person go? He did. That's how Jay feels, because I'm watching your streams instead of watching his on Fridays now.
Yeah, but he changed his to Fridays when I've been doing it always. So he's getting on my turf.
Well, sometimes you guys would stream at the same time, but I would just watch you both simultaneously. Can't do that here.
Changeling. Changeling.
I don't see this animating well.
Changeling.
This neck is going to... As soon as you blend these two,
His neck.
it's going to
Changeling.
do... It's going to look really weird.
Changeling.
It's not going to do the thing I wanted to. It's too much neck motion.
Leslie is like 40% neck by volume.
I need to have it like this, and I have to have her look... be subtle from that position. Yeah, that might work. How will that blend?
Will it blend? Oh no!
I've made that joke.
Changeling.
Oh, just imagine putting Celestia in a blender and I'm sad now.
Changeling. Changeling.
I am working on a project in assistance of Prince Whatever. If you haven't seen, he has just two, I guess not really recent, it's been months now, but two SFMs regarding changelings invading and stuff to two of his songs from Reinvention, I think it is. I can't remember the name of it, that's sad. But it's a really good album if you've ever heard it. But four of the songs make up a story, and there's two animations done. This is like an interim. And he gave me permission to work on here. So since this is where I get work done, I'm doing it here. It's a sign a bit of us apart from Starship Troopers.
In Manhattan, the Equestrian Council
Custom audio too.
We must
Barry
meet
Punch is the
threat
only one
with
who
our
could bother.
valor, our blood,
Celestia is
indeed with our very lives, to
very
ensure
popular
that
anymore.
Pony's
I imagine Barry
civilization,
Punch just came in there and watched the
changeling,
speech because she was
rules
cold and
Equestria
homeless.
now and always.
Her Highness Princess Celestia announces plans for a counteroffensive against the Hive.
Just working on getting some for animating done. Her animating is going to be the easier part. It's getting the audience is going to be the hard part.
Civilization,
Though I don't like how her eyes look here, the transition.
our blood, our blood, our
I think I need to... I'll change that later.
The dog wakes me up every morning.
Hmm?
The dog wakes me up every morning.
What are you talking about? I hear nothing.
We hear nothing.
I don't. In the morning, I wake up and it's quiet.
Yes. Here we go.
Oh yeah, this is a custom model made just specifically for use. Like, ignore the broken kind of legs there. I'm just not bothering with motion on them. No, I really like this armor. This armor is fucking cool.
It is. Whoever designed it did a very good job.
You want to know who did it?
Who?
Can you take a guess?
I'm afraid to. I don't know that many modelers and the ones that do it. And, was it Bearded Doom guy? Oh, good. Sword? What's his name? Sword something? Never heard of them.
You'll know him in a sec.
What else did they make? I was gonna say, I don't even know who that character is. Oh, wow.
He's the one that did Rarity's Boutique, which was this and Fluttershy's Cottage and a bunch of other things were done specifically for Nutrifin's video.
Hats off to him.
Yeah, so he did all that stuff specific to Nutrifin, but it's all really, really good quality.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, he's also the one that did this.
He did a good job. Good job, guy.
Any civil
If you watch this,
changeling.
Probably not.
probably not. But in case he does, I'll be like, thank you.
Rules
Thank you very much, random citizen.
Equestria now.
Okay, can't ever actually look anywhere near the camera because that's just going to be weird. So I have to actually have her look over the camera. Actually, I probably should turn her
If you look
head.
directly at the camera, it would add that campiness that was kind of part of Starship Troopers.
But in Starship Troopers, the camera was sitting at a low angle and he was looking over the camera. So I can't, and it's not a good idea to ever have the actor ever look at or even really near the camera because it breaks the fourth wall. Unless it is being that you are from the perspective of a recording, then they're looking at because you're watching the recording of it. But in this case, she can't. This is not a recording. This is, well, actually, it technically is a recording, but he is not talking to the recording.
Rules Equestria.
I had her eyes there.
Not changeling. Rules Equestria now. Equestria. Rules Equestria. Now. Equestria.
Okay, so a little bit was off there.
Now, and always. Now and always. Now and always. Now.
Okay, so this is the one I have her pull back and be proud. So it's probably going to be something similar to this.
Station, not changeling. Rules Equestria.
Well,
Changeling.
I realize this animation's saved. I don't want to do that yet.
Changeling. Rules Equestria now.
Pro tip, if you're ever keyframing, if you have a selection made, Alt-M puts bookmarks over the selection. That includes if you have fall-offs. And then bracket keys move between sections. Makes it a lot easier to do this. Okay, so one of her eyes in the same position. Oh, except for her eyes are not included in that. There we go. I have lots of little tidbits. I just sometimes feel like I'm repeating it over and over and over again for people that have been in the stream a lot, but I got to remember that not everybody's here every time. So, if you no, I got plenty of tricks. Here's I can just go through some random ones here. So, if you have, I might have to. Yeah. So. If you have a camera and that is super zoom, and when I'm saying like super zoom, I mean like super zoom. This not. I need more zoom. Yes, super zoom. And you see how the model does this. I mean, this is an extreme example of it because I'm using the ultimate amount of zoom, but you can even see like some of these stars and stuff are starting to clip, and a lot of this is caused because the farther you are from the camera, the decimal point or something of two textures starts to get closer and closer to where the engine has difficulty determining which one should be showing on top of the other, and so you start seeing both. And for pony models, you start getting that. And some models will have that effect come in quicker than others. Pony models are notoriously bad for having that happen on the eyes, which is what you can see here. When it's actually rendering or previewing, it usually will get rid of it, kind of. But not all, that much of it. The way to fix that is actually with this value right here, which is Z near. So what Z far and Z near on a camera do, and I got that by going to show an element viewer camera, is it is telling the camera the cutoff points for any type of visibility, and that's including like even the rendering of things. So for most maps, the max Z distance you can possibly even see is like 28 to 30. So, or 28,000 to 30,000. So what you can do is, because it has having that difficulty with that, I think that if you start shrinking in that Z value, it starts fixing some of those problems. And really the best way is just to go to this Z near and do from 3 to 30, and all the problems are fixed. Like, completely gone. You technically can get it to, there might be like micro fixes by going even more, but really the main thing is you just do it from 3 to 30 and most of your issues should be fixed. You can make it even worse too. Like, I probably don't even have to zoom in that much to see it now. Yeah, I'm not even zoomed in that much now. But the problem with having this value at 30 now is that your camera does have a cutoff value. So like, I can't get any closer than here. So now I'm starting to see the camera cut off things. If I went to a higher value, I could actually start cutting off more than that, which is going to lead to a cool effect. But so you have to be careful on how you utilize it. Like, even our podium's gone. But most of the stuff I do, I don't really have to deal with anything more than 30. Because if you're close enough with a model that you're going to be cutting it off with that effect, you're probably close enough that you don't even need to bother with a high, or you're not going to have any of that clipping issues. So, but normally I'll default my cameras now to 30Z. It does make it more interesting because if you want to work on something and you're like doing lip syncing and then you move a little too close. Well, I guess you could see what's inside the mouth, which can come in handy, I guess. But so yeah, if you have artifacting issues like that, change your Z near on your camera. Something else. If you don't know what transform, overwrite, and offset do, those are actually super useful. So, trying to think of the. So let's say I'm just going to use the model here, just because why not? Let's say that. Grab Celestial Lip Sync. Let's say that we want to have her like bounce forward. I think that'd be a. I'll just do a straight line. So let's just say like we have her moving. I want to have her move from here to here. So, but then let's say like, well, I don't want to just have her like move there. Maybe I want to have her like go around a corner. Well, you can do that. You can be like, well, I want to have her. I'm gonna try local. I'm gonna have her churn. So when I go to churn this, I'm actually bending her positioning. So she's now gonna kind of arc around it because by default, any motion that's done with, and then you add rotation, it will try to add that rotation in with the position change. So like here, I could actually have her do this, and that'd be a nice little easy way to churn. But say that I don't want to have her do that. Say that I want to have her go this way, and I want to have her do a 180 spin, but I don't want to actually have her do that. That's not right. That's what the offset in here does. So transform will make some of those motions transform all motion. But if I set this to the offset and I do the same thing, now when I do rotation, it won't affect my position. So now I can actually have her do this same motion. Fabulous. So that's what the difference between transform and offset is. The main thing is transform is going to translate motion and position together, and offset is going to disconnect the two. Overwrite will take any other motion that's already in there and overwrite it. So if I go in like this, and then like say I'm on transform, and then I go trying to think of a good example for this, and then like this. Hello, Grim. That I'm gonna see if this will do it. But if overwrite, yeah, overwrite then cleared out the other bits of animation that were after this and made it what I now made it. So this animation became, or all this afterwards, the zero value became its new. So I think even if I grab her lip sync, what does it do this? No, I don't think lips are under that same bit. No. No, it won't. But yeah, so overwrite will is useful. I've had some uses for it, but I usually don't use it too much. But transformer and offset are super useful. Let's say you're throwing a ball. You can do a straight animation between. So like in this case, we'll think of Celestia as the ball, and say I want to have her. I'm going to undo the motion that she has. There we go. So I am going to go transform, and I'm going to make her move forward. And then, but it's a ball, so I want to have it do an arc when it's on the way. So now you're going to have a nice little arc there. I mean, you're going to play with some of the timing.
I want to see your bounce.
No. So let's just say that that's like a jump. I'm doing it very simple. But we want to have the ball rotate as well. So I do that motion. And then within the same selection, I'll switch to offset. And then I'll just add a spin. And now... And so it's super useful being able to flip back and forth. I'm trying to think of some random tip stuff that I have. If you ever moving stuff and it moves your bookmarks, you can shut that off by going to this little thing, go bookmarks, attach to log data, then it won't move anymore. I do that all the time.
Did you let them know that all pony videos can be improved by adding socks?
No, because that's not a tip. That's stupid.
Ouch. My feelings.
Trying to think of the things that I figured out and I felt stupid I didn't know. Here's one. It's annoying, but it's useful. We're gonna create a new file for this. So, say you have a separate file that is a scene build that you really like, and you don't, but it's stuck in that other file, and but you want to bring it into this new save file that you made that you already have a bunch of work done, and you don't want to have to deal with. Maybe you instance a particle, and you want to get that particle out of a different file, but you can't because it's in a different save file. You can import shots from one video to another. So let's say that you just have a video with a whole bunch of shots here. So there's this thing called misc bin, and that's really, there's nothing in there. It's just a miscellaneous bin, and you can see it as just a holding cell for things if you so wish. So in your element viewer, if you do this and you go import element, you can import entire save files. So I'm just going to go into, let's grab this one. So now it's going to show a plus sign. That's because now, just like it says session here, you have session here. You loaded the entire save file in. So we're going to go down this very, very long tree to find the shot that we want. So I'm going to go that active clip, sub clip track group, tracks, film, children, shot one, track groups, channel track groups, tracks, and I think, there it is. Okay. So, well, actually, you know what? I think there's two ways to get to this. Oh no, actually this is what I want right here. Shot one. So this is going to be everything that's in one of these little element things. So if I want that, I'm just going to copy it. So I'm going to go copy. And now I'm going to go to my current active clip and do the exact same thing. Not track groups. Subclip track group. Tracks. Film. Children. So now you can see shot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down here. And we're just going to paste it. It's going to inject it in a weird spot. Really, it's going to match it with whatever the original one was, which is saying this is in position 0. So you're going to have to like kind of move it around to shift it to move. But now it's got a Dragon Dead thing. So and it's not right now loading the map. All this really had at the time was it had a map that it was in, but the map's not going to load. That's attached to the whole save file. But it's going to grab anything else, all the models you had in there, all the particles, everything, and it is super useful to be able to do. I guess other tip. This was animated in 60 frames per second, while the save file that I created to put this in was 24. Because of the difference with that, when I loaded this in, some of the frames didn't match up correctly, like not exactly to within frames, and so the engine basically is giving me an error and saying, this isn't right. So it's a bunch of red. Any of the shots that are in red are stating that they are now no longer matching up with what is considered a frame. This one is purple because it's starting at 0, and where it's ending, because it was originally from a 20, it started 24 and it is 24, it is still fine. Which means to me that this shot right here, because this is locking to between frames, you can see that I'm not able to get there. Well, that's because that's not correct. And because that one's off, all the others are off too. So if you're not sure which one it is, you can just do this with any frame, but really just comes down to grabbing this shot and then getting it to adjust to one. So I just slid it over until it locked and snapped into place with one. Because all the shots after this are 24 frame shots, it fixed itself. Otherwise, if you're not sure which one it is, just grab between two shots like this and just kind of do a wobble. And when you do the little wobble, it'll lock it to the nearest frame. But now it's saying, oh, when you did this, you broke this one. So it's better if you can figure out where it actually is. But yeah, then you just go back into place and you are fine. You have the new save file in there. And he's happy about it.
That's too happy. If I see that dragon now, I just want to stab him. And then wear his skin as a suit.
So actually, when I loaded this, it only loaded the video. It didn't load any of the sound. The sound, well, oh yeah, because this is under film. I didn't actually touch any of the other track groups, which would be grabbing things under here for tracks. Yeah, I would have to go into these and grab it, I think. But yeah, that is a super useful thing to know how to do. I know another one. There is an application you can get off of the workshop, and I recommend you do, called Realistic Fog. And what this does is it allows you to control this. So you can see that the further the camera or the object is from the camera, it starts having that like fog of war look. And this is the purpose of this is for decreasing processing. But it actually is pretty useful because it lets you lets things kind of fade into the background if you so wish, and so it is actually pretty nice. And some maps have it, some maps don't. If it's one that doesn't, you can export it to Hammer and add in a fog controller, but it's a mess to try to do that. So I just know this map has some. But you are able to actually control this, and you can control with console commands. But this little Realistic Fog downloader is a lot easier. And it will also let you save the values, because if you don't save the values, it will they'll only be temporary. And you say you've used it before, but for anybody else, so this, if you turn it on, you can then change any of these values. And I can never remember what order to hit, so I just kind of hit save and set until it makes it work. So right now, I have this camera set to a distance of 0. So I want to set this to start a bit of ways, and then end fog will go at max. So now it's kind of fading way off there, but that's too far away. Let's pull that in a little bit. Pull it a bit more. There. So say you're doing a sunset scene. I'm gonna make this, let's say, red. We're gonna make it brighter, red, yellow with a little bit of blue, just to make sure it's. I want to make that a bit whiter. A little yellower. There we go. But the 3D skybox, which this one has its own set of colors, so I'm going to go and do very similar with that, but we're going to actually make it brighter because it's further away. Yeah. So it's pretty useful to be able to do that. Or if you want to just have like models fade into the distance a little bit, you can also just, I mean, that's going to be a little too bright, but you just play around with the colors and try to match the skybox. Could take a little bit, but it's pretty useful. Come on. Yeah. Like that. There are other ones on there you can get for like reload all materials. All that does is simulate the console command for reloading all materials, but it's pretty useful. SFM physics doesn't run anymore. Volume slider is another one you can get. That's pretty nice. There's one for reverse animation that you can get, but I haven't actually played with it much. So I wouldn't be able to promote it or not. I'm trying to remember some of the anything else. Not having anything pop up top of my head. There are models, and it actually doesn't matter what model you grab, but there is models called Helper. I love these little models. Where are you?
Do they help?
Oh, it's in the shot. Wait, it was in the shot. It is in the shot. So, yes, they do. So the purpose of a helper is to help by providing you information regarding its X, Y, and Z, but I never use it for that. You could lock this model to every single bone on a model and you'd be able to see every rotation axis, but I don't care about that. What I usually end up using them for is for providing a secondary motion type for models. So one of the things I don't like about with the camera or some other things is when you say you want to rotate this camera around a central point, it's really like, how do you do it? Like, say you want to rotate it around this helper here. How would you rotate it around it? And I'm not just talking like a full circle. You could try to like manually do it. And obviously you say like, well, I'll just lock it to that and spin it. Well, that's actually the point, but not for the way you're thinking. So cameras are notoriously bad for if I want to have a subtle motion in some direction and then add a slight other motion onto it, it doesn't want to do those small little motions. So say I have a camera that over some period of time is just shifting a little bit like this, just a little bit to the side. And I've had plenty of stuff that I've done where you're just having this camera that's constantly moving sideways. But then you're like, oh, well, then I also want to have the camera kind of look up this direction just a little bit. But then I want to also, like, partway through here, have it spin to look here. It starts having issues where certain things just don't lock in. And it is way easier if you start trying to break down all the different parts of the motion into separate motions on a single object. So in this case, I would take this helper, I will lock the camera to it, like that. We're gonna zero our motion on the camera here. So for obvious reasons, you can say that I want to spin the camera around it. So I'm just going to spin this central model. That's perfect. It's exactly what you're looking for. You're now spinning around that object. But what if I want to add some other motion to this? Well, let's say like I want to have this spinning, but I want to have it going farther away. You could add it back to this on top of the transform, but then you're taking a rotation motion, you're adding more motion, and it just starts getting to where some of those rotations aren't going to actually work anymore. For instance, I think even here, like, if I can't move the root because that's just going to move it to it incorrectly, but now let's say I want to have that move out. I'm going to grab the poly surface and I'm going to have it go out. And you can start seeing it getting some cool motion there. So now I'm slowly moving backwards in comparison to the model. And I will sometimes stack these so that I can separate my motion, because when you do any type of motion on anything, it is basing its X, Y, and Z to its parent. A root transform not locked to anything. It has a parent of the world. So its motion is to wherever it is within the world. If you keep trying to add more and more motion to that, it's trying to still interpret how to do that motion within a single environment. So if you start doing a rotation on top of rotation on top of rotation, it's no longer individual rotations. It is now it trying to interpret all three at once. And it never turns out well. So the best way to do it is this, where you start trying to split up some of those motions. So when I spin this camera on the axis is only paying attention to one motion. It's spinning around one point. But now to the camera's perspective, this motion around is its zero value. All the way around here, it is at a zero value, meaning that I have freedom to move within its world without worry. So I can do any complex motion here. I could have it go, like say up here to look and then back down, and it's going to work perfectly fine because it is not having its values interpreted in all these hundreds of different ways. It is interpreting just this, and a camera can do that fine. You're just putting it in a universe where there is already motion at its zero, and that comes in handy. Trying to figure out where that comes in handy, I think will take time, but I have had to utilize that probably more than I would like to state. There's something about if you are, I can even just do it with the helper here. If I grab the position here, I'm gonna go up really close, and I do a motion. Now you'll see I am moving my mouse, and you can see there's nothing showing down here. And this is what's causing those problems. And I think it's a rounding error where they just can't, being a 32-bit program, it can't make a decimal point small enough. But I have to move it far enough, and then it will jump to match that. And you can even see that these lines aren't even matching up. The further I go away, and if you right click here and show sample points, you can actually see. So because SFM doesn't save a curve, it saves multiple points on that curve. They're all straight lines that try to interpret a curve. So if I move this really far out here, you can see all these different little dots. And all these dots are saying from here to here is a straight line, here to here. And as you start going to a curve, you're getting more dots because that's what's needed to make it simulate a curve. But when I move it just a little bit, I don't think it can make a dot in this area. And as I move this, it's the scope, or how big it is from top to bottom here, starts enlarging. So while it looks like it's making dots within that area, it's not really. It's the top value here and the bottom value here are actually expanding and getting larger as well. So SFM doesn't like that, mainly with fall offs. If I go and do a linear, so it's an even fall off, it actually works pretty fine because it's a straight line. It's when it's trying to figure out here, this is a curve, and it's trying to say, how do I curve this? Well, this curve, it can't get into these little subtle values of how to curve at the beginning and curve here. If it's linear, it's fine. It can at least figure out how to get to this point. So this is tough. But for some reason, if you take this and you smooth it, it adds a gajillion goddamn points, and it will work. Because smooth just makes everything a point. But as soon as you go to move this again, it's going to destroy it. So if you ever have models that you have very subtle motions, but then suddenly like some motion kind of suddenly it feels like robotic, that it's like moving stiffly and jagged, it's usually because there's some kind of a physical motion in there that's hitting this rounding error or something. But the cameras are doing this to where, say you have the camera's position moving and doing a slight rotation, a slight move forward. It's just all that together is just causing these problems. And if you start separating its universe to where it's not having to do these subtle calculations on the very, very tiny level because of all the multiplications of motions, you don't have to worry about it. Doing that show sample points actually does come in handy for figuring out what's kind of going on with stuff. So yeah, things that frustrate me. If you watch my tutorials and stuff, then there's some stuff I don't have to cover, like how to put multiple maps in a video, how to separate lighting from a model, the map lighting from a model, which is super useful. Trying to think if there's any other goofy things. You are able to redo your own keyboard shortcuts, and actually, it's not a bad idea to look through here, because there is some functions that you can add a keyboard shortcut to that aren't on there originally. I've actually, I think, disabled a couple of keys because I think there's a button for add camera. That's a stupid button. I don't want to. Oh, it's still there. I haven't even shut this one off on here. Create camera. Press C to create a camera. Why would I want to create a camera? I don't want to push a button to create camera, because what this ends up doing is that you keep hitting C and you're like, why this isn't doing anything? And then you go in here to existing element and you realize you just made 15 cameras. So yeah, I recommend getting rid of that key. But it is pretty useful going through there. Don't utilize poster exports ever. No, they don't run right. Yep, I can show you with this. Okay, so if you look at this model, so I have a light shining at it, and it is causing a bloom. So the bloom is what, it's looking like a glow, but it's just a bloom. So bloom is nice because it creates a softening edge for very bright objects. The problem is poster. If we render as a poster, look at it. Bloom is gone. I don't know why, but anytime you render a poster, why did it do TGA? I don't want TGA. It will remove the bloom. I don't know why. It's stupid. Something they never fixed. You think that it would render it out exactly, but it doesn't. So if you actually need to do a good rendered preview of any picture, you can either like go into your shot, wait till everything's like done doing its render thing, and just export as an image. It actually works pretty good that way. Just make sure like both these are on the camera, although sometimes it selects this one and then that's not what you're looking for. Or what I'll also do, because sometimes flexes take time to render, is just render out an image sequence of like 4 to 5 frames and then just take the last image of the sequence. But yeah, this is what it exported to. That's not right. I wanted bloom. You took the bloom from me. If I want to take the bloom, you can go into the camera and reduce bloom scale to 0. I can do that myself. You can also make it like explode in bloom, which is kind of cool. But no, you have control of bloom. You shouldn't let poster do it for you. I don't remember my SSAO bias and stuff, but if you've never played with these values, go to render settings and turn on show ambient occlusion. And this is a really bad example because I do not have anything in this shot. So we're actually gonna, let's open up, let's go with Pony. Open up Rainbow Dash. So when you open this up, so what this is doing is it's showing you what the ambient occlusion will look like. So what ambient occlusion is, or especially SSAO, ambient occlusion is about simulating false shadows in a way. But ambient occlusion normally takes time to process. And so what SSAO is, it's screen space ambient occlusion. So it's trying to do it live. And so a lot of these little, what makes the model feel three-dimensional is that SSAO trying to just figure out what should be shadows. So if I actually go and shut off ambient occlusion, now you get these flat lit areas, and it no longer feels three-dimensional. And so this stuff actually, or the ambient occlusion is actually useful. And if you do show ambient occlusion, you can see what that overlay looks like. It's in this view that you can start seeing what some of these values on a camera do, these SSAO values, because they directly affect your SSAO. So let me plant that so it's no longer in my shot. So if you play with go here, with the bias, you can see some of the changes it's making here. So it's hard to explain exactly what each of them is doing. The best way to do it is just play with it yourself to figure it out. So it looks like it is removing some of the more subtle ones by increasing it and making it darker and more concentrated in the larger areas. When I used to do this, I would usually put SSAO bias probably about there, because being a cartoonish look, I didn't want a full three-dimensional. By removing it, some of the other areas still felt flat, but it still gave that definition in other areas. TF2 is what where I learned some of those values. Oh, it's ignore the eyes because the SSAO works different. So again, this is just the overlay. Strength. You can definitely see what that's doing. So this is really making it stronger. If I put it to 0, it just makes it nothing. But if you put it increase it, you can also start seeing these like hard areas on edges. And maybe that would be a look you're going for. But I usually would just put strength up a little bit. It helps create a little bit of a shading on the edge. And then radius is... that really starts... I forgot what radius actually does, like in terms of like the term for... After Effects and that, but that's just, I don't know how to explain that one. That will also make it disappear, but it's about like it feels like it's flattening it out or sharpening it. And normally I would take the radius and I would just drop it down a little bit. So if I shut off that ambient occlusion, you can start seeing what some of these eyes will do in real life. So this makes that a lot more defined on the edges. I don't want that. So the default is here, but the default is right here, but if you increase it quite a bit, you still maintain the shadow where it needs to be, but you start getting rid of it or reducing it in some of these other areas, which is actually kind of like a cartoony look. The strength, if you go down, is gone. But if you go all the way up, that just doesn't feel natural. So about the default is pretty good, but all of a sudden just increase just a teeny bit. And then your radius, we don't want this. This again doesn't feel natural, and then we don't want it all the way down there because that also doesn't feel realistic. But I do like it when you reduce a little bit and just help sharpen it and clean up and make it still feel more cartoony. I used to actually have these values recorded. I used to keep them wrote down so everything I did had the same values, but I haven't touched it for those values for a while now. You can even go another step further, go into your element viewer, and you can even change the color that those are. Which, I'm making it right now like weird colors, but it actually has uses. Like say it's a really bright shot, so you don't want these really sharp shadows. You could go in here, instead of doing black, just increase it just a teeny bit. And it's going to lighten up that SSAO, so that instead of having these shadows in areas that normally wouldn't have shadows in a bright sunny shot, you can start reducing it. And maybe it's really sunny and you just want to put a teeny bit of yellow in there. It's up to you to play around with that. There is on here the ability to switch to outline only. which I don't know if these values do anything then. No, they don't. But when you play with the tint, you can still change that. So you could be like, I want to do Rainbow Dash's outline with the darker blue. The problem is that every model in the entire shot is going to have that same color, which is not always going to work. But you can actually kind of do that. You can even meld them so you can do both at the same time. Though it doesn't work with blue. But you can kind of do a cartoony look. The problem is that those lines are the same size no matter how far the camera is from the model. Yeah, that doesn't work. And this is not working on the map itself, just the model. So like, unless I zoom in now, she's just a big black blob. So it's not that great. But it's neat to play with. I did a thing on all of these. Oh, actually, I don't know if I ever covered this with here, but lenses. So if you go to the lens tab here, these are actually very, very useful. These are industry standard camera sizes. So the usefulness of this means that so many different movies in the industry have used the same camera lenses for so long that we just instinctively know them, like when we look at something. So it's nice being able to match up with what we're used to. And in this case, all of these are some kind of industry standard. Sorry. But when do you use any of them? Well, I'll tell you that. So normally I will stick between 24 and 105. Anything below this, especially if you go to like the 90 degree, this is unrealistic. I mean, unless you're doing like some Scott Pilgrim type thing, you're not probably going to be utilizing this. And what this is saying is that the camera is now seeing 90 degree views in two directions, which is just not realistic. And then from there, it's just playing with the values. 24 though is about the most I'll do for this, because you still get some distortion. Maybe you want like a nice tall pose to make them seem proud. That actually does come in handy. But the main thing is, and I'm going to move Rainbow Dash down to let's move her to the hill here. So let's say that we have our horse just standing on a hill. So there's multiple different shots, but there's, at least to me, the 4 standard shots when it comes to zoom. The first 2 are basically identical. It's just about purpose, and that is your establishing shot or your far shot. And in a video, an establishing shot is usually that like couple 5 to 6 second shot that shows its purpose is to tell your viewer where they are in the shot. So if I were to suddenly jump into a shot like this, what does this tell you? And and these are all guidelines, they're not rules. So there might be situations where you do want to start here because you don't want to tell somebody where they are right away. Maybe that's part of a joke or something. But in general, if you start here, you don't know where you are. You have to think of the viewer as not just somebody watching a video, but you are now placing them inside this world, and you have to give them a place in this world. And if you haven't told them where they're standing, they're not going to know where they are, and they're going to be confused. Even if it's just subconsciously, they're going to be confused. So if I just jump to here, where is she? Is she in a field? Is she by a rock? Is she by a cliff? Is she by a river? Is she in a simulation? We don't know. So you have to have some kind of a shot that helps establish that. If you ever see Family Guy shorts or a lot of cartoons, if they're going to go and show something within their house, the first shot they do before going into them is they show the outside of the house. That is establishing where they are, because if they went right to the living room or the kitchen, you're not going to know whose house am I in? Is this their house? Am I even in a house? It's about giving that context. So an establishing shot is normally something like a faraway shot, and is usually utilized with a 35 millimeter camera, 35 or 24, kind of depends. I usually prefer 35, but maybe I'll play it with a little bit. I try not to do a 35 then like go like that. No, I'll try to actually stick with the standard. So now if I do this, there's a lot more information you're giving to the person as to what's going on. And this would be considered your establishing shot. A far shot is essentially the same thing, where a far shot is where you're a shot that takes in the entire actor at one time. So a far shot could be this, or it could be like this, but usually it's going to still utilize something around a 35 millimeter camera. And if you're going to be playing with focal distances, and you put it on target here, your aperture is normally going to be pretty low. That is because if you think about, if you're sitting in a room and you're taking in the room as a whole, nothing really seems, unless you're bad eyes, nothing in the room is going to seem blurry. It's all going to seem in focus, at least to some degree, because you're in the wide array of things. Everything is about even distance. The farther something is away, the comparing it to another object that is far away is not going to be that difference in blurriness. So you usually want to have the aperture not that very high. So like even this is probably too high. I probably have it somewhere around like here. So, but that's like for if you want to show two people talking, but you want to show both them where they are in the positioning, or walking down a street or something, that, you know, that's your far shots. From there you go to a mid shot, and a mid shot is usually a 50 millimeter camera. And a 50 millimeter camera is what is considered to be is comparable to what the human eye will see. So if the way that I perceive the world is assumed to be similar to a 50 millimeter camera, which means that this is the camera you want to use if you want to make it feel personal, like it is you looking somewhere. So a lot of times if I use a 50, you want to cut off the body, but add some kind of a point in the mid body. So I usually like cutting off at the knees. For humans, sometimes they'll do the waist. But for pony, if I cut off at the waist, then it looks like they're floating, like a little sea, like a goose or something on water. But so I'll do it right here, because now I'm not cutting off in a weird spot, but I'm still have them, by cutting them off, they're the main focus in the camera. And I want to put the level of the camera similar to what you're going to be looking from, because again, it's going to be perceived as a 50 millimeter camera. So what would I be perceiving this from? So this is kind of what I would do for a 50. And then you can up the aperture a little bit, because now you are going to be wanting to focus better on the subject. That's probably still a bit too high. That should work. There we go. That's less weird. And then from there, it's your close-up. And your close-up is your 85 millimeter. And for an 85... For the ponies, I'll usually cut off at about the mid-chest, not the bottom of the chest, not like this, but about mid-chest, or something to where I can at least see the back of the body, because if you cut it off like this, they're just a floating head. You don't want that. So something like this I'll do. And this would be your close-up. So this is where you want to focus on the emotions of the face. This isn't a conversation type look. This is where, say, somebody else is talking, and now you jump to this person because you want to see the expression that they're giving. So yeah, usually that'd be an 85, and you're going to up your aperture a bit more, because this is going to be, if you're looking at your hands super close, everything else in the background is going to be perceived as pretty blurry. So those are kind of the four general. There are other ones, like there's the upshot. The upshot is for giving the perception that the character that you're looking at is strong, is brave, courageous, godly, and that you are underneath them. If they're looking down at somebody, by putting yourself down there, you're making it look like they are in a position of power compared to somebody else. Just the same, the down shot is about making the other person feel weak and insignificant and what would you call it? Frail. That they're in a fragile position. So say that they're very, very sad and lonely and depressed. You would maybe want to utilize that. So, and I love this example that I did from Remembrance, where I did 2 of those right in a row. So right here at the door, so when looking down at her, I wanted to give her a feeling of vulnerability and weakness, and so I did a very, very strong down shot. So I was looking down at her from the door's perspective, like everything is weighing down on her. She's the only thing in the shot. She's very much the focus. But then as soon as it follows up from that, I'm doing an upshot, not of her, but of the door. So the door is now in a position of power, in a position of authority, and it shows what is crushing down on her. Because while we're looking up at her, she is not what we are actually looking up at. It's the door. So utilizing those can actually help portray a lot of different emotions and give information that without words. And there's a lot of these. So like this at the beginning is my establishing shot. Everybody is fully in frame, and it's about showing where you are. It's not showing where they're going. I don't want to show where they're going yet. But it's about saying we're in this hallway, and for the most part, it's a kind of an iconic hallway. So it should be that, oh, I know where we are, and then it follows that right up with it's basically still a far shot, but just closer up. But then this is the mid shot. Well, actually, I wouldn't even consider that a mid shot. That might even be a close up because it's about the emotions in her face, and a lot of this is about the emotions. So there's a lot of close ups. Here, because it's supposed to be an internalized thing in her head, I'm not showing her face. I refuse to show anybody's face because then that adds a personality to things, and I didn't want them to be a personality. I wanted them to be an entity. So no faces. But as soon as they go away, the image in her head goes away. So this shot coming into the door is establishing the room, showing the room as a whole. So now when I go from this shot to this shot, you know where you are. So if I were just to jump to here, where are you? You wouldn't know. The establishing shot, though, now tells you that you're over here. And because now we know all that, now I know I'm above that central bit. And I no longer have to be lost of where I am. So the establishing shot is super, super useful. This one I thought was a little harder. I had to make sure that she was moving back here, because without that, you wouldn't even know where this spot was. So when it jumps to this, her being over here is to help give you, it's not really an establishing shot, but it's to help at least determine your positioning. There's also this. It's very subtle here, but it's one of the things I love with camera work, 'cause I love cinematography. A camera should always basically stay level, but if things are meant to be portrayed as not normal, as awkward, of an unnatural power of something happening, turning the camera actually does an immense amount for making it feel like the whole world is not right. So here, when the camera's still straight here, but when she starts doing her magical things, I actually turn the camera sideways to give that feeling of something weird. And right before this explosion, the camera also tilts. And here it tilts the other direction, but then kind of returns to normality after everything's over. Well, actually, I do keep it still sideways. I think from here on, actually, I do a lot of sideways camera action, because things are being awkward. But yeah, so Tilt the Camera is about magic and wizardry and awkwardness and horror and things that are outside of like reality. Definitely tilting the camera can work. And I've seen some really cool ones where they utilize the camera that's upside down and have it turned back. Dangerous, but if you do it right, it's super cool. With that too, I always think of the word parallax for it, but I can't ever remember what it's actually called. And I do it a little bit here. It's about playing with zoom and camera position to get a really cool distortion effect. So it's a little bit right here, and it's going to be a little subtle. Actually, it's probably going to be right here too. Yep, you can tell a little bit. So when she starts out here at the beginning of this next one, you can see where the stairs are and everything is in view. But by the end here, it's all become much larger because of some of this playing with the camera I did. So what it is over time, say you want to maintain her head size. So I'm going to back the camera up, but then I'm going to zoom in to try to maintain that same size. What you're going to get is this really weird distortion of reality where everything feels like everything around the actor is morphing and moving, but they are staying the same. This kind of motion is really good for making it feel like the world or the actor's emotions and state are collapsing away from the world and into the internal. Like, say that an evil villain says something that a truth that they didn't want to hear, and this suddenly they're like they're stuck in their own thoughts, and so that's a really good way to start moving towards that type of thinking. It's like everything's collapsing in around them. But just the same, you can do a zoom out with a pull in, and start making it feel like the world is expanding around them. Both of them have uses. I actually really like using it for just giving an enhancement to certain visual effects. So in here, I did for this one I did a zoom in and a camera back out, and then I had it revert itself right afterwards. So it just made it feel like the whole world kind of collapsed in and then blew out again. And I think I did that a couple times here. Not there, but I'm trying to think of any. Is it here too? No, not there. I thought I had it here, but a lot of this distortion was done in After Effects. Oh, there again. She's knocked out, so the camera turns sideways. Oh yeah, as she is falling here, it's the internalizing thing. So you can actually, the camera starts doing that where it's backing away and zooming in. But play around with that for sure. Cinematography is a fascinating topic because you can tell, or you can provide a lot of information to somebody without saying a word. Or you can say one thing and imply another just with the camera. I love the science of cinematography. It's super, super cool. If you want more information on that, I've linked it a gajillion times before. But there is a there it is. Flooby Newbie. Flooby Newbie has a whole write-up on the Incredibles one that covers a lot of the stuff I covered regarding cinematography. But this isn't a small write-up. This is a very, very long write-up. And this is only page 1 of like 3. those were the comments then, but yeah, there's a part 2. So this is a super useful bit of information on how they did cinematography, not just in terms of camera positioning, but coloration. This movie was actually fantastic for a lot of that. It was incredible. But it goes into detail about noticing how the down shots work and how they utilized it. So definitely take a good read at it. Oh yeah, and lead lines and everything. How to direct people's attention to where you want them to be looking instead of just where they instead of wherever they're going to look. How's the poop?
It's a long way. Lay down for like a second. I just dozed off.
You came back and you're like, I'm hungry, I'm tired. Nap, pizza.
Been a very busy day.
Threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives.
But yeah, that's all I can think of right now for tips. If I think of anything else, I'll bring it up. But there's little things, but some of it are just minor.
Changeling.
Oh, stupid little thing. But if you don't, like here, mine says main camera. If you want to name it that, you can't just name it here. Go into your show and then viewer and camera. You name it to whatever you want here. Then that will actually change its name. Anytime I start a save file, the first thing I do is I make the camera, I name it main camera, and then I go in here and name it main camera. Because I don't like, I like having it be not camera 1.
Only civilization, not changeling.
I feel like her body needs to turn more here. I want to have her pull back. There we go.
Sure that pony civilization lives to ensure that pony civilization that pony civilization
Turn a little bit, but not as much as I had.
pony civilization
Good night, Blurred.
pony civilization pony civilization pony civilization not changing rules not changeling not changeling
I think I'll have to. I want to have her head up higher, but I feel like it's going to be for a second and not keyframe there.
not changeling not civilization not changeling changeling rules equestrian now equestrian now
Okay, that's where I was. So I want to have her go back slightly proud. Hmm?
Them legs. And my feet. That's not.
No, see it fixed.
That's perfect. Looks worse.
Oh, see? No clipping. It's perfect.
Amazing.
It's like nothing's wrong with it.
Equestria now. Rules Equestria now. Equestria now. Now and always. Now and always. Always. Always.
Hmm?
Looks like he just jumps forward at the camera. It's
And
like,
always.
no.
Equestria now and always.
She will destroy us if she doesn't have carrots. No. Too much.
Always. And always. Equestria
Horsey
now
and horse
and
face.
always. Wait. And always.
That's all.
Decoy.
So,
No.
And
These are nice.
always.
Her Highness.
That doesn't seem right.
Equestria now and always.
Her Highness Princess Celestia announces plans for a counter.
Its best part is this like hoof applause in the background. It just sounds like her head is breaking the sound
Her
barrier.
Highness Princess Celestia announces the Hive plans for a counter-offensive against the Hive.
Yeah. It's the only thing I did. Just Ricky Punches being like, woohoo, yeah. woo."
There. How about this?
Equestria now and always.
Her Highness Princess Celestia announces plans for a counter-offensive against the Hive, source of the changeling invasion that destroyed Camelot. Would you like to know more?
See if I think she might be a changeling. You know, she's been doing that for like all week. It's like, oh, okay. If it's been a week, then I
And
think I'm
always.
fine.
And always.
I think it would be a really good idea to let the changelings get our love. I mean, we're not using it.
But didn't they murder your family? Oh, it's okay.
It's fine.
I forgive them.
Everybody
In
single
fact, I
file.
was thinking of eating them too.
Everybody single file. We're gonna go get eaten by the changelings now. Somebody raises their hand. Are you a changeling?
Always.
No. No.
like-
Guards arrest her. No.
Tastes like no.
So regal.
was
was made.
what was the name of that model? Where is her model? Oh.
Queen.
It's still not. Oh.
She's like a bug eye now. It's like, what? Somebody was let's go. It's like, was your eyes always green? Yes, next question.
Oh, I'm not done yet. Why is there a oh, I already have it attached. Never mind. No, I don't. Oh, I have things attached to her. So I can undo that though for now. Just for one stupid joke.
Yes.
Ignore that. Actually, I can fix that pretty quick. There, just mid talking.
Threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that ponies
Let's try to get it where it blinked.
with our valor, our blood.
I just do like that.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood,
Nice.
indeed with our very lives.
She'd be like, no. Maybe you're a changeling.
It's like, or no, it's,
French.
we'll do that, and then we'll do. Okay, there. So, let's ever be like, yeah, it's like Celeste. Are you a changeling? Oh no, you cheated.
I just want to see, like,
I wanted to have her change, but she won't do it because it's locking it in.
I just want to see one of those spinning newspapers, and this one, Celestia announces.
Oh, no, I have to do
her
this.
eyes have always been green.
There we go. And now I can do it. Be like, Celeste, you changeling? No.
Announces plans for a counteroffensive against the Hive.
Okay, that was stupid. I gotta undo all that. Some jokes take too long.
Her Highness Princess Celestia announces.
You gotta make the joke cool.
There we go. Invalid root element. That's what I wanted.
Austria now and always. And always.
One day I'll be able to hear what she's actually saying.
It's all about butts.
Knew it.
She's going. She's just constantly. We must meet the butts with our valor. Our butts.
Our very lives.
Indeed, with our butts.
To ensure
Butts are
that
powerful.
ponies.
See, this is. She's saying penis.
Ensure that
Pony penis.
civilization.
Penis civilization.
The whole civilization of penis.
Change.
Not changing pants.
Wow, that's gonna get right.
Changeling. Changeling. Ling. 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 Ling.
Sounds like Celestia. Michael's gonna boop you.
Ling.
Shit.
She's looking at you.
No. You must stop the boops.
Michael.
Let's go to war with boops. Get boops. Get boops.
Michael.
What?
No. Slider got lost.
Teeth just falling out. No, she wants boops. See how happy she is?
We must
He's
meet
like, I
the
can't wait to
threat
go
with
boop.
our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives.
Having her say with blood and with our very lives with that big smile.
It's like
Our
the leader
blood,
of Helsinger Bridge. She's like, yes, I like
our
war.
blood,
She's just saying blood.
I like war.
blood,
I
our
love
blood,
war.
our blood, our blood, our blood. Blood, valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that pony civilization, not changeling.
I've heard this audio so many times and it's always with like weird
with
shit.
Our very lives, to ensure that
Something got burned there.
blood, indeed
we go.
with our very lives, to ensure that pony civilization.
I'm getting a second wind.
Yeah, because you took a damn nap.
Yeah, I know it helps, right?
Civilization.
Like 30 minutes. I will fall asleep with my glasses on too. Fall asleep with my glasses on too, which is kind of good.
Why?
Just can break them.
Why did you fall asleep with your glasses on?
Because it wasn't my intention to fall asleep.
Why'd you lay down?
So I was tired.
But that's what do you lay down for?
For a quick, okay. Second wind. Let's go.
What is no, that doesn't work that way. Closing your eyes for 5 seconds doesn't just mean you're suddenly. Is that why your phone's always dead? Is that because you just think you can plug it into a wall for 5 seconds and it's charged?
I thought I'll rest my eyes for just a second.
Not change.
At least that's always my intent. It works like 50% of the time.
To
The other
ensure
50%
that
I fall
pony
asleep.
civilization, not changeling.
I was thinking of doing a sidelong look here, but I might actually have her just do more of a
Changeling.
full turn.
Changeling.
Nah, that looks a little weird.
Changeling.
They want my butt.
Changeling. Rules Equestria now. 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 Now and always. And all. Now and always. Now and always. Position not changing. Rules in our plot indeed are realized to ensure that civilization not change. Not change. Wait. And always. Now and
Here she comes. I feel like animating. Animating. No. You're like, you have to die now. Yes. I mean, the most I would be able to animate this, if I could really do myself up on it, would just be her saying, "And I am the cutest damn pony in all of Equestria. Thank you." And then you go right to the claps. It's okay. Yay, princess. Bye. Just give me that look. Fuck you. She's dancing. We better go. I'm Celestia, look at me go. Yes. Zero floops. Oh no. I'm just imagining now she's like got tiny little legs. And she's just up on stilts. She's like, yay.
Now.
I'm trying to go for a certain look. But I don't know if I'm not finding it.
Equestria now and always.
I feel like it's gonna be putting her neck back further than I'm able to. Because normally the head should be able to cross down into the neck, but it's not. Because like you can put down your chin to touch her neck. She can't actually touch her neck without getting to an awkward position.
Yeah.
Equestria now.
Her trachea collapses on itself and she dies. It's like she was 1,000 years old. What killed her? She looked down.
Equestria now.
No.
And now. Equestria now and always. And always. And always. Equestria now and always. And always. Always.
Her Highness Princess Celestia.
Always. And always.
Her Highness.
added a new song yet to your playlist? I don't think I've seen that one.
I did clean out the list recently of all the stuff that's been deleted or removed from over time. I had about 30 things on there that were just copyright claims on the original channel or something. One thing I need to do here is she is smirking ever so slightly, but it is bugging
It's
me.
very cute.
I don't want her smirking.
And
You don't want her to be happy about the world. Like a week blowing her out. She'd be all like, "You guys hear this war on? Isn't that great?" Who doesn't like war? I mean, it's the only thing that keeps me from killing myself from boredom. I'm very old.
It's the only thing that helps me killing myself from boredom.
Yes.
There, that's a bit better of a face.
Yeah, she looks more serious now. She's serious horse.
And always.
Actually, she should have that fall off a bit more too.
Ways. Face. We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives, to ensure that pony civilization, not changeling, rules Equestria now and all. Now.
I just still don't like that, but I feel like it's because it's a stopped proportion. I think
And always.
as soon as I have it not, it should work fine.
Equestria now and always. Equestria now. Equestria now and always. Always. Always.
I'll have a dip for that too, but
And always.
I like to think like she's kind of like a teacher at the same time, and all the other ponies are just bratty children. She's just like mid-speech. She's like, "We must defeat the change the game now and always." And then she's just like, "Hey, you over there, stop touching Kyle. Don't no, put that
spit that out.
Yes.
Spit. So, did you bring enough for the class?
This is all the other ponies. It's like brave children.
She's gonna be like Barry punches over there, like fucking with some shit, and she's gonna be like, "What you doing? What you doing? What you doing?"
Fucking shit, you doing it? I see you. I had problems with your great-great-grandmother too. She was an asshole just like you are. And guess what? She's dead now. Yeah, you learned your lesson.
I murdered your family.
No one's gonna stop me.
You're gonna die.
Celestia probably could kill anyone, and no one would stop her.
No, and then
She has that power. No.
she went Nader's like humph.
No. Bad video. Mario Demon makes 4. Oh no. It's come to this. And then all of a sudden your account shoots up like 300. And you're like, what is this? Yeah, you fat.
The equestrian.
Disturbing.
In Manhattan, the Equestrian Council.
It's like a freak.
no.
It's like the Berry Punch cash register, like cha-ching.
My hair is going crazy.
It's scaling with jiggles. There, and then
She ate Berry Punch.
and then wait,
Your first
wait.
forward
No,
video is done. She punch. Dare you to save this? He's yeah. Oh, good. Somebody's here to witness it.
no.
Witness your horrible war. You were supposed to save it, release it on the internet, in like some back alley somewhere. Not even do it here.
What the
Like
hell?
go to a Starbucks to
I
upload.
want to make sure I'm not.
That doesn't exist anymore.
That rules Equestria now and always.
Highness Princess.
Okay, good. I did one little thing from before. That is fine.
Her Highness Princess.
The civilization for integration and valor. We must meet the choice.
Highness.
Because I know at the end of this, the guy that played it in the movie stood back.
I was wondering what you're doing.
I think he did look to the sides a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that.
Always.
Her Highness Princess Celestia.
I think the weirdest part about all this
Her Highness Princess Celestia.
is the guy that they have do this voice sounds almost identical to the one from the movie. It's really, really weird.
And talented voice acting. Mimics a lot of people.
Indeed, with our very lives. We must meet the threat with our valor.
I'm thinking the original didn't have any camera motion here,
With our valor, our blood. Indeed, with
but
our
I'm thinking I'm going to put a little bit in. You just like, let's see here. Oh. Something like this.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives.
Might need to fix that star. I can see the texture flashing through it. Hoping not to fix it, just leave it there and just have like each of the points of the stars stand for a general. Fuck that guy. We took him off the star. He was an asshole.
Lives.
Oh, that star just glitching out. Okay.
I don't know what caused that either. I couldn't figure it out because to do this, it was there's a program you can get that will convert images into no, what do you call it?
Is it bump map or is it actual models?
No, it'll look at all the edges for a texture, and it will determine its vertex values. So it will say this is a curve. So if I put a point here and I arc it around here, so it makes it so it's infinitely scalable. So it turns the image itself into a vector. That's what it is. And I had to then go through and clean it up because it does what it can, but it makes extra little vertices. So like on some of these edges, it would make like 30 different little bumps to make it exact. And so I went through and just erased most of them, put one, and then arced it to follow about what it was trying to do. And I went through the entire everything to do that. Then when you have that, it's scalable. You can actually import that file into this software, or not into this, Blender, and Blender will convert it into a 3D model. And each of these individual colors was made into its own vector, and so each of those would be separatable from the rest of the model. And so I went and grabbed each of those little pieces of that in Blender and then just pulled them out at different levels. So I pulled this moon out a little bit, this part out a lot. These I pulled out at different amounts.
Yeah, that looks good.
But for some reason, this fucking star. I had to redo all these stars because it tried to round all these stars, and I had to redo it to make them all manual, like just boom, 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 boom. But no, actually, I thought this turned out really good. I was thinking about doing a butt map, but it looked like shit because this bright light coming from below couldn't do the shadows right. So I did an adventure. But I don't know how to do texture mapping, so each of these is its own texture of just a single color. Because they're all individual models.
It works.
No, it took me hours and hours to figure out how to do this, but I am really, really happy with the result because I feel like it makes this shot, and especially this shot, just feel that feels way, way cooler.
Mm-hmm. No, it really turned out well.
I wonder if... I think I already did it, but... Oh, probably not gonna matter. Yep, I already did. I maximized the shadow value on that. But there's just so many other ambient lights in the background. I was thinking I could darken those shadows underneath, but I think that it wouldn't look as good. I could add probably a bump map to this so that it's not perfect. Yeah, it's really shiny.
Well, it would be shiny. I think it looks exactly as it should.
Well, actually, I don't think I can add a bump map. No, because I didn't create a texture map. So all of these are utilizing a 2x2 texture.
Yeah.
You can't actually do a bump map for that. So never mind. Well, no,
I mean,
I still could.
you could do one for the entire texture.
No, because it overlays on top of whatever the texture size is, which is a 2x2.
Yeah.
So unless I can do a bump map in a 2x2 texture,
It would be difficult.
yeah. But I did restart this thing and I haven't done this yet, so I can check. Probably wouldn't be what I'm exactly looking for, but I guess I'll do that. Let's check gobos. I can overlay one.
Maps.
What was that from?
Oh, I remember. It was from when you were making the doors thing. Everybody was getting on you for making
Oh, yeah!
So you're like, this guy, that's where naps happen.
I remember that now. Yeah, so I put that on the screen.
Yeah, you wrote, naps are this way. Permanent naps.
Okay.
You murdered a horse.
I'm like, I know I did that because it definitely looks like me. want something like that.
I kind of like as is though. Just saying. Looks like
Well-
polished metal.
Well, it's overly polished, is the way I see it.
It's supposed to be super like.
I thought it was gonna happen.
regal.
But still, not everything is weathered. So, I would like to add something just so it breaks up the look, and I could do a butt mat or a gobo over that to try to fill it, but whatever. Yeah.
I agree.
Hmm.
I agree.
It's a little bright, Celestia.
She's not right.
Plus, I think it might not matter too much just because when this is like blurred, it's not gonna. But I like how like this model back here is super enlarged. So this was a this wall here is a single wall model I use on other things. I just made it really big,
Big.
and then I just jam this into it. But I think I still have it. I still have this file because this is the converted file. I just had to go and remove all these extra little bits on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But the colors are red and they're both the vectors created based on the color. So to make sure that these split correctly, I had to make sure they were both the same color. So that's why they're both blue. Hello. The stars were going to be at the same level of pull as the moon, so I made them both the same color. So I had to figure out how to do that. But if the colors weren't different enough, it wasn't going to matter. But yeah, SVG file.
Mm.
I don't remember what the program was that I used for that. Is it like SVG something? It is not. What was the program I used for this? I only used it for that one thing, and it might not even work anymore because I think I used like a 1 month free trial. Yeah, no clue. Yeah, I don't see it. But it was a pretty neat program. Yeah, this is actually the final one then that I used. So I converted them into flat objects because the other one didn't work, and base it all, and that's all vectors. It's pretty neat that you can do that.
It is.
Otherwise, that would have been I would not have been able to model that. I was thinking of asking somebody to do it for me, but me.
Nah, it turned out really good.
Threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives. Blood.
What pains me is the point of that star does keep trying to like show through.
The what?
The point on that star, it does seem to keep like popping in and out of existence.
Well, it's because its texture is end up being that it's not popping out; it's flat with its background, and because it's flat and even, you can actually see the backside of it there. Mm-hmm. The software doesn't know which texture to show you. So the further off back you are, the more it starts glitching and having problems figuring out which texture is actually the front texture.
Yeah.
And they are actually on top of each other. So even though I did go in here before, oh no, I didn't. That might actually at least solve that problem for now. Well, sometimes if they're identical, it still won't match up, but it is. And it's not going to ruin it. Well, there. I'm going to do the same thing here. Yes. I can have my derp star now.
He's out with the stars. I was like, what's that star? That's the Death Star jumping.
It is not loved as much as the other
The
stuff.
creator knew we were going to murder him when he finished, so we got him before he'd done.
Yes. So
It's like the artist who created this beautiful piece of work.
He
He
lives in-
murdered him so he couldn't do it again.
He lives in it now.
yes.
We had him leave a cavity. He did not know it was for him. It's a small cavity. We pushed really hard.
It's very messy.
She knows. She knows we know.
We had to get a guy to clean it up, and then we had to kill him too. And we
She she needs bones.
needs
Bones.
That is what
Um,
she needs.
Well, there's nothing wrong with imported sequences. I import sequences all the time. Somebody else did the work. Take advantage of it. But repeated. There's nothing wrong with repeated motion too. I've shown this before. At least with keyframing. Keyframing is a good way to try to make things unique. A lot of the motion here, at least getting her in the positions that she needs to be in, are just copy paste of other positions. So like, if I want to have her like this position to this position, I did this one first, and then I just pulled this. So like say, yeah, it's fine. I'll just do it. Say that you have her go down into. Okay, it's really bugging me that her lips don't move. There. And you want to have her go into that position. I will just go and say playhead. If I go all the way, it's going to move her into fully that position. But I'm not going to go all the way. It's going to go a little bit backwards. And then just turn the head a little bit more. And now you have yourself two different keyframes within 5 seconds. Using a partial playhead or partial in, partial out allows you to like steal parts of other keyframes, so that like say even going from here to here, I could then take this one, put part of this one, and make an in-between pose, and then just drop it down a little bit, and then you have a nice little swing. So repeating and reusing animation from other parts is super useful. Mainly for the keyframing. After I've done keyframing, there's nothing I'm kind of copy paste between parts because I'm locked in for what I have then. But once the keyframe's done, that's most of your base animation there. And if you don't like it, it's easy to change it and fix it. Oh, I gotta undo that.
Pony civilization. Pony civilization. Not changeling. Rules Equestria now and always.
And even this, I'm not happy with how it is, but it'll get me where I need it to be. It's the main thing is the body motion, because body motion is hard because it multiplies up through the neck and up through the head. Head and neck, whatever. I don't need those keyframes. You can figure that out pretty easily, but it's the body motion I want to make sure it does, not just have I don't want a head that's just going like this the whole time.
Sorry. Oh.
She's got her neck extensions.
With our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives.
Ooh. It's kind of a creepy looking leg when she doesn't have the neck.
To ensure that pony
Keep up,
civilization.
princess.
Not changing.
She's clearly a changeling. Have you been watching this video? She's doing lots of weird stuff.
I'm the opposite. Like I always use the motion editor, so the graph editor kind of confuses me. There's just too many buttons. I love the motion editor. It should be that you do all your keyframing, what I'm doing right now, in the graph editor, and then you use, and then for blending, and then your motion editor is for a lot of your more refined cleanup. That's the way I think it should be, but I just like the motion editor, so I just stick with it. But it comes with downsides. I get the benefits that motion editor come with, but I at the downside of the things that the graph editor is actually good at. So They're supposed to be used in conjunction, and I'm lazy about learning the other. I have used the graph editor before. I had somebody running across an uneven surface, and I just used that for keyframing the hill and then angling everything throughout there. So it was a lot easier to figure out using the graph editor than it was to use the motion editor. But I've just been using this for a while, long enough that it's become my thing.
Sure that pony civilization. Sure that pony civilization.
Some of this I'm not liking, but I think it's because I'm not getting the emotion from her that I want. So I think once I'm doing like when she says ponies, her eyes are going to be wider. They're going to go wider. And then when she goes civilization here, they're going to be angrier. Well, not angrier, but at least like close more. So, and then like here again, she can be wide. And then changeling, because she's like hates the changeling, she's going to go super angry. She's going to go so angry she goes blind.
Horrible. Like, I've gone blind. No, princess, your eyes are simply closed.
Oh, well then I will offset it.
It's like, she just has a guard who constantly needs to like be in the room with her. Like, I've gone blind again. No, princess, you're just blinking. It's like, oh.
We must
okay.
meet the threat with our valor.
I'm blind again. No.
Indeed, with our very lives. To ensure that pony civilization, not changeling, rules.
I'm sorry, Celestia. No, I'm not.
He's not.
Equestria now, and
He does this a lot.
we must meet the threat with.
But there's nothing more I can really do tonight, because if I do any more, it's going to be blending these, and then I'm going to be stuck with something I won't have an undo trail to. So, because I'm done anyways. But I really don't like how these keyframes are timed. They're very seesawish, or too periodic. I'm going to have to adjust that. These ones look fine. These ones do not. It's just... Well, I guess some of these are secondary, where like this to this is just a secondary. That's kind of a secondary. This is a secondary. Oh no, not that one. This one. And there actually will be a nice secondary motion in the right here. I just don't want to do it now. Oh yeah, I'll be continuing this the next time. I probably won't be touching this until next Tuesday, so I'll be doing like the keyframe blend right at the beginning of the next one. I'm just glad all the freaking lip syncs done. That's what I hate. I hate freaking lip sync. This one's psyched especially because like I don't like doing 1 second of lip sync, and this was nearly like 18 seconds.
I told you need to make pony videos like Mr. Bean. Never lip sync again. So they're doing all those stop motion things now. They don't have them talk. They just go ooh and ah and yee. No. She got the biggest snoot.
We must meet the threat with our valor, our blood, indeed with our very lives. To
It's like,
ensure that
Celestia?
pony civilization, not
Yes.
changeling, rules Equestria now.
Did you get another job?
There's something about just taking detailed animation and making some awkward change to it and then watching it play out.
The wonders of 3D animation.
Yeah, you can't take her seriously, no.
You could take her seriously before she's a magical talking unicorn.
Meet the threat with our valor,
Horse.
our blood, indeed
All
with
I
our
wanna do is
very
boop.
lives. Indeed,
Okay, I just want to double check I didn't break something.
rules Equestria now and always.
Still,
Rules Equestria now. Equestria.
I think
Rules Equestria.
this one I want her to be pulled back a lot, and I think I can either pull her back farther or push her more forward, and I might push that one more forward. I want a nice distance change.
Now and always.
And there'll be a head shake with that too, but anyway. that's all I'm gonna do for today. But yeah, I will be working on this definitely more next week. So yeah. Thanks for coming and watching Stupid. I think it's stupid. Yeah. I want to know what this error means.
You didn't grab Brian. Now he's dead.
Who is Brian?
We all
And why is his name not capitalized?
He wasn't important enough.
And why is it that this error popped up 5 times in a row? The first time you'd think, well, we need Brian. The second time it's like, oh shit. And then after that,
Did you grab Brian?
no.
No wonder it tells you 5 times.
Well, you've got to find Brian.
He's dead now.
Why is he dead?
You forgot to grab him.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah,
He's dead.
he's dead. It's all
Okay.
your fault.
Whatever. All right. Have the... Where is it? There. Have Kitty.
Yeah, Kitty. I was afraid we were gonna forget Kitty.
No, I never... I don't think I've forgotten Kitty once.
There was,
Other than before Kitty existed.
yes.
So, okay.
Night.
Good night.